Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. This is Ted. With me are my esteemed colleagues,
Dave,
Ryan,
Nate.
And today we're going to wild shape with some druids. So let's chat it up.
Figuratively speaking.
we're not going to really turn into
No,
druids.
we're not going to really wild shape into some druids.
Nice. So druids has always been one of my favorite classes. You know, the coolest thing about druid to me was, you know, the ability to wild shape. The only problem in early editions, it took to like 7th level, and you know, sometimes you don't get to 7th level. It happens.
Yeah.
But you know, they rectify that a little bit in 4th edition, with you could wild shape pretty soon, but it wasn't like. It didn't feel like actually taking on the animal. It was just kind of like a reskin. They gave you some powers that you could use.
They were like animal-like attacks, but they weren't
really... or utility-like. But it just didn't feel like assuming the form of the animal.
Right.
Maybe with some kind of balancing issue or whatever with the other characters, do you think?
Well, yeah, 4th edition was very much
like,
about
wait,
the
this
balance.
animal gets too many attacks. They're D4s, but no.
So, you know, with 5th edition, though, at 2nd level, you're wild shaping, and you from right off the bat, you can turn into things like wolves and panthers.
Right.
You know, so I think you might even be able to hit the lion, too. So it's not exactly, they're not no slouches,
Yeah,
what's
the CR? It's a quarter, right?
Yeah, it's a quarter.
At 2nd level, as just a regular druid, you can get to a CR a quarter, which is definitely a panther.
I have to say that before you told me it was a panther, I was really unimpressed with a quarter CR. I'm just like, what, a quarter CR? Like,
was that a snake? Is that a rabbit?
Yeah. Is that a little buddy?
you're gonna hop at me.
But if you go with Circle of the Moon, that changes your CR cap down, which normally at 8th level would be 1. It changes at 2nd level. Your CR is 1. So yes, you can hit a lion at 2nd level.
Well, you know, I was looking at Circle of the Moon, and there's this campaign coming up for a meat grinder for Brigade Con. I was like, oh man, a 7th level druid would be so sweet. And I'm like, oh look, you can do a swim speed. That's a crocodile.
Nice.
I'll be death rolling through dungeons, baby.
And without the Circle of the Moon, if you went with the Circle of the Land instead, you still get decent wild shape things. It's not just a little fluffy bunny or a snake. You can turn into, like you said, a panther.
You still have cool options, but you get to replace, you know, the extra wild shaping stuff with some sweet spell additions.
That's right, yeah. Based
Circle
on the type of land you choose.
Right, and you get them just automatically added, similar to like a domain power of the clerics. They're automatically prepared, and then you can choose to use your spell slots on your regular druid spells or your land powers.
And what are the land? We have, what, Arctic, coast?
You have Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, and Underdark. So they've got the Underdark
They even
druid
put Underdark
already
in
in there.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything's covered. I mean, you could have a Taiga or something, but you know, aside from the really crazy stuff,
I'm a volcano druid. Where's my volcano powers?
Yes, I live in an active volcano.
We'll call that desert.
You guys are racists.
Yeah.
you guys are regionalists.
Yeah, regionalists.
So let's start at the beginning though. Flip that page back. What do we get for being a druid?
First level, you get your druidic language, which it's cool to see that that's still there, and your
So you speak Druish.
Yes.
Okay.
Druish.
You know, you get your standard, you know, druid weapons. You get light and medium armor, and you know your basic saves of, you know, int and wisdom.
Well, it's still in there. No metal weapon. No metal.
Yeah, I was
armor.
gonna ask. Can those shields or armor be made of metal?
They cannot.
Well, I mean, light and medium. You're looking at your hides. You're looking at your.
Are they the only class that get tools?
Oh yeah, they get the herbalists.
They get an herbalist kit. Does the thief automatically get
Thieves' tools? Yeah.
or the rogue? They automatically get these. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they had folded in the criminal or whatever.
No, I don't think so.
But there's most of the classes don't get tools. Yeah, I think maybe just the.
That's because they're crazy peyote rituals with the druids.
Yeah.
Ah, the herbalism pack.
Yeah.
Yep.
So druids and rogues though, and bards get musical instruments.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a standout in that regard.
Have to go through and check that one out.
Well, what that means is it means the druid is a little more heavy with the skills than the other classes.
Mm-hmm.
Long leaf, man. Long leaf.
It's all about the long leaf.
The long leaf trade.
Yeah. That's right.
Of course, you know, they get their secret language, which is cool to
Which is
see
not
some
so
of that.
secret because you could potentially pay to learn it.
Yes, if you meet a druid who is willing to teach you, sure. But I mean,
A druid that's down on his luck.
Yeah.
Times have been hard.
Uh,
Can't afford the mistletoe the way he used to.
that's right. Yeah.
and then of course you take your second level when you finally get your wild shape in your druidic circle. So that's where it starts off, and
Well,
The classic power,
does
like
the
timeless
druidic
bodies there. at
does the
higher
druidic
levels.
circle start at third level
No,
or
at second.
At second, because I think most other classes they get
Yeah,
their thing at
yeah.
third.
Yeah,
So that's a little
Well,
bit.
second or third based on wizards get their school selection at second,
Okay.
and I think the warlock is one of the ones that's at third.
Most of them.
Most of them have a
Mo-
third.
really?
I think.
most things they you finalize what it is that you're
What
doing
about
at
cleric?
third.
That's second, isn't it?
No,
Am I
cleric
just
is
thinking
basically first level.
First level, yeah.
Oh, with the
sure.
domain.
Yeah, you pick your domain as your kind of archetype.
Oh, that's right. I've been reading too many wizard things lately.
Yeah.
Everybody's got
But
second.
druid
There's
actually
like
has-
8 things there.
Druids actually have a dead level at third, but I mean they're gonna get the next level spells. So.
Yeah, there's no dead levels because even for the spellcasters, they consider your spell progression. You're part of that.
That's
Right.
your
You're
boon
getting
for the
your
level.
getting your higher level spellcasting.
And your proficiency.
So we
goes
got
up.
2 types of druid here. We got the were druid and we have the magic-y druid.
The castery, yeah.
Yeah, when you take your druid of the land, you get a bonus cantrip, so that's always a boon. You get the essentially the wizard power of being able to get your spells back during a rest. You get the added spell features from your land type, which is similar to the cleric domain powers. And then you kind of get some rangery stuff by getting benefits of going through your terrain.
So what this kind of reminds me of is in previous editions, the druid would actually encompass all of this. And they've kind of taken the druid and split it in half.
Well, I mean, dude, third edition druids were like ridiculously powerful and unbalanced. Like you could make them really over the top. So like this, I think.
I guess so, but you still had to get there. Like they were, but again, it was another one of those classes at the early levels. They were kind of lame.
Yeah, oh, that's true.
Until you started getting those wild shapes. There wasn't as exciting as the other classes. I don't feel.
5e definitely changed a lot with when basically like things that would be really big deals for the class. Like, well, druid can wild shape. That's the big deal about the class. So they get it lower than back in the day.
Right.
And very similar with a lot of the classes. It's all like front loaded for your like big deal class pieces that you want to get. Like the powers.
So these 2 types. So we have our tank druid and our like controlling druid basically.
Because when you actually go with the wild shape, it's like, okay, a wild shape, and now all of a sudden I've got essentially these bonus hit points. Because when I'm in an animal form, any damage you take as an animal isn't automatically switched over when you become back to your regular form. So that's pretty cool.
That's one of the features I like best about this wild shape. Because old school, it's like you took the damage. You always took the damage. And you got a little bit of healing out of transforming back into yourself
Right.
or changing into another shape. But with this, it's just stacked right on top.
Well, I mean, so in like third, wasn't it that your hit point total was always your hit point total, regardless?
Yeah.
And then, so this is like an extra thing, like it's something outside of your character.
But that being said, like even like we were looking at the Panther earlier. The Panther only has 13 hit points.
right.
At second level, there is a ton of things, including an orc, that can one-shot you for 13.
Right.
So, the probability of you not actually carrying over the damage could actually be very low depending on what you wild shape into and what you're fighting.
Right, but suppose you start off the combat. Okay, I wild shape. I use my pounce action. I get to tear into him. I get my claw. I get my bite. I knock him to the ground. So he gets up and smacks me. Okay, well he does 14 points of damage. All right, I automatically revert back to my my humanoid form. I take that excess of one damage, and I'm still in his face, and I've only taken essentially one
The
damage.
thing to remember is, if you got a bad roll for second level, you might be getting dropped by that 13 damage if you don't have a decent con. And because you got 8 plus a d8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
you could be
then-
getting dropped by that 13
Then on my
instead of ready to fight.
And on my
Well,
next
you
turn,
take the 12 damage because you take whatever dropped you
no, you
minus the 1. That's what it says.
no, you the it does the damage to the creature. Any excess beyond the creature's
Oh, okay, I got
damage then goes to your humanoid form. So if it did, say, 14 points of damage, the Panther takes 13, is dropped to 0. That forces you to revert. You're now at whatever your full hit points are, and you take the 1.
The 1. Okay.
So then you, on your turn, all right, I use my bonus action to wild shape. I'm now whatever, and I attack again. So I mean, you only get your, you only get the 2 wild shapes, but then you can rest and get them back.
Now, is there a duration on that wild shape, or can you just stay wild shape the rest of the day?
Your wild shape is a number of hours a day. Number of hours a day equal to your druid level rounded down. You then revert unless you expend another use of this feature.
Is that half your druid level? Because it wouldn't make sense if it was rounded down unless it was a half.
Oh yeah, half your druid level rounded down. My apologies.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
So basically, you get an hour of it at second level.
Right.
Right.
So, and I wonder if the moon one, the lycanthrope one, is if they get a longer duration as well. Makes sense.
No, it does not say.
No, I don't think they do. I think they just get better.
They're
Yeah,
just
they just
better.
get a lot better.
Well, that and also they can sack out their spells for healing while
Right.
they're wild shaped.
You,
Oh, I didn't know
when
that
you choose this circle at second level, you gain the ability to use wild shape on your turn as a bonus action rather than as an action. Additionally, while you're transformed by wild shape, you can use a bonus action to expend 1 spell slot to regain 1d8 hit points per level of spell slot expended.
That's pretty sick. As a
Oh,
bonus
that's
action,
really
you just
good.
heal.
Right.
It's like I'm just regenerating. Take it.
I really am a were-druid.
Yeah.
As long as I have spells.
Then at 6th level, your attacks in beast form count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. At 10th level, you can expend 2 uses of wild shape at the same time to transform into an air elemental, earth elemental, fire elemental, or water elemental. And by 14th level, you have learned to use magic to alter your physical form in more subtle ways. You can use the Alter Self spell at will.
Yeah, so they basically folded all the shapeshiftery stuff from the previous editions into Circle of the Moon.
Right.
And the other stuff that are more naturey, magic-y, rangery got folded into the Circle of the Land.
Right.
Which I like that because I think generally when you play the druid anyway, you have kind of
you
an
veered one way or
inclination.
another.
Yeah.
And as regardless of which circle you go, you still get access to spells and you still get access to wild shape. So you can do both. You just have to pick what you're focused on.
Right, and one of the cool things too, say you're a Circle of the Moon, or not even any druid really, and you cast say Barkskin, which is a concentration spell, and then you wild shape. Well, that spell goes with you.
Absolutely.
All your concentration spells, you can
All your one.
all your one concentration spells
Yeah.
you can maintain while you're wild shape. You just can't cast any new ones. But on the plus side, you're not going to blow off the one you had already cast.
Well, so one of the things I was joking about before we were filming is the fact that you can pretty much dump the crap out of your physical stats because you're using all of the physical stats from your animal form while maintaining your mental stats. So, like, you could really...
Play the Urkel version of a druid.
Right. Yeah, you could be the absolute
really
suckiest
fit,
as
a really healthy buff guy.
And
that's
you
weak.
You really don't need, for physical, because let's face it, there's also the cantrip Shillelagh,
Yeah.
which you cast it, and oh look at that, my boring club becomes a magic weapon, and you switch out your strength for your
You attack with your wisdom.
So
Yeah.
you attack
I'm
with
going
your
to
wisdom.
beat you with my
damage
common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you could totally just have an 8 strength and an 8 dex, a decent con,
decent
to have
constitution, yeah,
hit
that's what I
points, and just be an animal almost all the time as the Circle of the Moon. If you wanted
You
to
could,
really.
but that's kind of weak because I think druids for the most part are like your mountain men, your foresters.
A mountain man with a case of asthma and very clumsy.
If you played an older druid
Yeah.
that wasn't really, maybe he was the druid that was in charge of the library for 30 years, and he's like, "That's it, I'm done.
I'm
I'm
retired.
going on a
We're
walk.
moving in the woods.
Yeah, I'm going on a walk like my buddies.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be a hermit.
Yeah."
Going in the woods to die.
And then
Leave me
some adventurers come upon him and take him on this crazy quest.
I see both sides of it. You could definitely do the the Raceland-esque, kind of druid wizard thing.
The power
where-
game.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it that, but I mean, just like,
It's all right, Munchkins. We love you too.
they're a spellcaster, so they're not the melee guys, and they choose to, when they want to get, into the thick of it, they can either cast Shillelagh or they go for a wild shape. Either works.
I'm thinking more along the lines of the druid lifestyle. I think, it's a little more demanding.
It does lend itself to a person that's at least physically fit for hiking.
Yeah.
At the worst.
But I mean, that could be your constitution. It doesn't necessarily require strength.
You can hike all day.
Yeah, but
you can't lift a
hiking,
branch.
hiking's bad if you're constantly falling down the mountain.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Well, just saying. I mean, typically you look at if you look at the set of stats, that could be your 8. You don't need your strength.
It's true.
You just not be a very good outdoorsman.
Yeah, you're definitely not the woodcutter.
Well,
You're definitely not the woodcutter right there, right?
I live off of twigs and berries because I'm too weak to.
well, you're typically when you play a druid, you're playing those that are going to eat the vegetables and the fruit. You're not eating the animals.
What
You're
are you
not cutting
talking
down
about? No,
trees.
F that. Whenever I play a druid, I don't play the hippity dippity hermit guy. I usually play the savage, the barbarian, whatever. Like the half orc druid. Or
That's
whatever.
that's the other thing about druid. Druid is a great class for, wow, that makes me think, dude. Half orc, what is their ability?
Strength and con.
No, not their stats. It's their racial feature. I forget the name of.
ferocity or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Relentless or
Yeah, relentless something.
yeah.
But right, so if you get dropped to 0,
Mhm.
instead you're at
right.
1 hit point once a day, right?
Yeah.
Well, you retain your features
That's interesting.
as when you wild shape. So you could be like,
a panther.
you could get an extra round of your wild shape just because you're a half orc.
Half orc circle of the moon guy.
Yeah, who
really
refused to
hot.
go down.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
then
pretty
for flavor, be a boar.
Relentless endurance.
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So
The boar.
As a boar.
so that part is really cool, and which I just totally sidetracked my own conversation. But what you're saying, right, is the different aspects of the druid. I've played in the middle actually more so, but a druid is about nature in all of its aspects.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean you can't personify one or the other, the savagery of nature, or the brutalness of it, or the circle of life, kumbaya, Lion King part of it.
Yeah, I have a tambourine and I'm going to smoke my pipe. That's
You could totally be the pacifist druid that just can't we all get along type deal. Look, you don't need to eat the animals. These are these yummy, tasty vegetables and nuts. And,
We're sophisticated here.
Right. And then this guy over here is going, "What are you doing? You're eating all the animals' food."
Eating the wrong thing. You just eat the animal.
Yeah.
I likes mine raw and wriggling. So safe. Colin.
So the druid
Juicy sweet.
is really cool because it does offer a lot of diversity in that whole natural spectrum.
Right.
Evil druids are great because they basically hate humanity for what it does and despoils the world and kills all the animals. So they're like the vengeful hand of nature,
Right.
type. Or you got the hippies that want everybody to get along and conservation. This is how we
Balance
can
and
all we can
conservation.
balance it. And then that's another aspect that in earlier editions of the druid was always about balancing the scales of everything. So
I think it was taken to extreme.
Oh yeah, it was. It was very weird. Like, oh no, there's too much good going on over here. I better go murder this baby.
And to the old school players, I mean, there are stories that I've heard because I didn't play the really old stuff, but there were characters who literally were forced to play both sides of the encounter because the DM says, "Well, you're a druid, so therefore you have to worry about the balance." Well, these guys are winning now, so you got to fight them. Oh, these guys are winning now, you got to fight them.
Now that's just
That's
ridiculous.
silly.
Yeah,
So-
that's ridiculously short-sighted.
Yeah, I would say that
Absolutely.
on a grander scale, maybe somebody else is committing evil to make up for my
That-
lack
that
of
is
evil
the-
on the other side of the globe.
That is a perfect example of a chaotic neutral dungeon master.
So, one thing I'm curious about with Druid, I don't think I saw it in there. I think did they get rid of the alignment restriction?
I believe they did.
There's
now
no,
you can have,
there's
like,
no alignment restrictions
For
on
most
anything.
stuff, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it used to be
Honestly,
you had to have neutral some aspect of your alignment. Now,
I'm kind of the opinion that really they wanted to get rid of alignment, but they felt like it was too much part
of
of
the
the game.
Right, right.
Because like it's in there, but it really affects almost nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got all of your backstory roles, you've got your traits, you've got that stuff kind of drives your character's persona.
Alignment is really ingrained into Dungeons and Dragons, and if they just went and removed it, I think there would be a
Well, I
little
mean, but
upheaval.
4th edition kind of removed it with only having like 4. It had like 4 alignments basically.
Well, rather than restriction on what class you can play your class and you play your alignment, and those two things kind of mesh together.
Yeah, but another thing that I think the fan base taught Watts with 4th edition was the things that they're not willing to accept. So even when Watts brought them back in this edition, they were very careful about the verbiage. There are definitely things that are tanky and controllery in this edition of the game, but they
dare use those words.
They don't use those words, and they're very careful of.
They never say squares.
They never talk about squares, but it's all there. So I mean, I never really cared about that part of it. I don't even care about the roles. All that stuff has been there. The things that people accuse it for being video gamey about is bullshit, in my opinion. Anyway, because video games took it from tabletop RPGs.
Right.
They just gave it different names. It was the name game.
Yeah. So they defined it better because gamers by nature tend to, I think, be chaotic anyway. So
my I know we're on a 4E bash right now, but like I didn't.
Who's bashing? I'm not bashing. You're bashing 4E?
He's stating facts.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't like the power structure.
Yeah.
You got the daily, you got the utility, you got the at wills.
See, now there's aspects of that I actually did like, but I'm more talking about the fan base and how they responded to things, in regards to like that's why they brought back all the 9 alignments.
Right.
And they really changed the verbiage of how they describe things, where your spellcasters do a lot of control effects, but they just give it in the feet of the effect, and then you guys determine how it works on your table, whether you're using a table, a theater of the mind, whatever.
Right. But back to Druid.
Back to Druid. The alignment diatribe.
So you got a very useful class here. As you said, it works very well as a PC. Very, very good as a villain. You could certainly have a druid who's got all kinds of creatures that are at its beck and call, and minions and servants.
Well,
and
here's what I miss from 3.5. Though I really do miss the what was it? Summon Nature's Ally.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the spell?
That was the spell.
Where you can spontaneously cast that.
Right.
That was fun because I had my half orc that did the Tarzan call.
No. So there isn't any equivalent druid summon on their spell list? Or?
No. There's summon animals and summon call woodland
But
beings
you
as
can't
spells.
you don't sack out spells anymore.
Yeah. Before.
Well, I mean, they did away with all that as far as the cleric is concerned too.
Right.
So.
But they just did it where you don't have. I prepared these specific spells. You have spells prepared, and you have your spell slots. So you can just choose every time
Anything
you
on
cast a
your
spell.
list, yeah.
And I'm sure, once again, it's going to be concentration. So you can summon them, but then that's it. You're locked in. Now you can only use cantrips and instant spells. So there will be no layering there as well. Layering stuff. Yeah. So anybody else got anything to add about the druid?
Everything is awesome. I'm really pleased with the 5e druid.
I'm thinking I might bust one out for the
in
meat
playing
grinder.
soon, yeah.
Yeah, except for the spell Thorn Whip. Come on, do you really want to pull anything toward you? I'm sure tactically you could set up the rogue or something like that. Maybe they're hidden, and then you pull it towards you, and then.
Well, you got to use it over the fighter's shoulder.
Yeah, right.
You pull them into the half orc.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Or over the mage you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any Nature's Ally type spells.
There's called woodland beings, and there is an animal summoning one, conjure. I think they use the word conjure instead.
Not conjecture. Hearsay.
Conjure minor elementals. Conjure woodland beings.
Yeah, so,
Conjure elemental. Okay.
Yeah, you don't
so
get it every level like they had with summon 1 through 9,
Yeah,
Nature's
the-
Allies.
Conjure Fey. So yeah, there's a handful of levels where you can summon stuff, but you're not getting it until you.
why summon it when you can be it, though?
Yeah.
Really? Just
But
turn into an
Turn
elemental.
into an elemental.
Until you get to 4th level spells, you're pretty much on your own.
So, now that this like kind of begs the question, right? Elementals can talk, right?
Yeah.
So, can they cast spells?
Why not?
It doesn't forbid you from casting spells in
Oh,
wild
absolutely,
shape,
it does.
Yeah.
What if you're doing Alter Self, which is just like the wild
Well,
shape ability?
Well, when you use the alter self as per the spell, you're just becoming another humanoid.
Well, Circle of the Moon, though, I think it even lets you do some casting while in wild shape.
Yeah,
When you get to 18th level.
18th level.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You're not doing it
But
for
what
a
I'm
while.
saying is, like, obviously, yeah, if you're a dog, you don't have the
Well,
human.
come on, man.
vocal
Davy and,
cords.
and Goliath. The dog totally talks.
There's no feat
yeah.
for when you're in some kind of weird shape or can't talk. That
They
you can...
haven't really gotten specific.
Not yet, and honestly, if you
War-
get it as
what
a
about
class feature.
Warcaster? How's Warcaster work? Can you take out your verbal and your?
Well, no, that is more with your somatic. With Warcaster, you can have a shield and weapon in hand, or 2 weapons in hands, and still cast your spells. If you have a spell that targets, you can use that as your attack of opportunity for your reaction, and it does something else.
Okay.
But
But no,
it's definitely that.
if you're
that
bound
was,
and gagged, you can't cast a spell.
no,
Oh,
that's
okay.
definitely
So no
more
wild
towards
shape.
wizard fighter-ish types than
Okay.
druids.
Well, I would say, look, if you're going Circle of the Moon, and you wild shape into an elemental, that's going to be a question for between you and your DM. They left things like that out there.
Werecaster. They just need to name it a different thing.
Oh yeah,
Werecaster.
Werecaster.
Yeah,
Werecaster.
Werecaster. Bam. Druid fighter.
This edition really begs a lot of those unique situations that they've left vague, and it says, okay, let you guys hash it out, and that could be another one of them.
Yeah, I'll buy that for $1.
Just argue and browbeat your GM until he lets you do it.
Some people let you, some people won't.
Yeah.
And if worst comes to the worst case scenario, turn into an elemental and prove that you can cast spells as an elemental.
So light yourself on fire. Or
Whoa! Nerdarchy does not condone
endorse.
setting yourself on fire or self-immolation.
unless you get it on video and post it to the internet. Well, no, there are like the suits, the sort of flame retardant suits that people.
Oh, now you're gonna have our fans setting themselves on fire in flame retardant suits that don't know how to use them, and they're gonna emulate themselves, and their subscriber views are gonna go way down.
Oh yeah, so don't do that
Because they all set themselves on fire.
Because you need to watch the videos.
Don't set yourself on fire, please.
Matter of fact, 90% of what Ryan says, don't do. And don't roll dice like my brother.
Don't roll dice like my brother. Just this guy roll.
So I think that pretty much covers Druid.
It does cover druids.
So I would say, like, comment, subscribe.
Share.
Check
Find us on Facebook and nerdarchy.com.
Or Twitter, even.
Or Reddit.
Or Reddit. We're over on Reddit.
Just go find us. The links are down below. You know what to do.
All right, should we shapeshift on out of here?
Let's do that.
Until next time, stay nerdy.
Well, yeah, 4th edition was very
It's
much
like,
about
wait,
the
this
balance.
animal gets too many attacks. They're D4s, but no.
So, with 5th edition, though, at 2nd level, you're wild shaping, and you from right off the bat, you can turn into things like wolves and panthers.
Right.
So I think you might even be able to hit the lion, too. So it's not exactly, they're not no slouches,
Yeah, what's
that's for sure.
the CR? It's a quarter, right?
Yeah, it's a quarter.
At 2nd level, as just a regular druid, you can get to a CR a quarter, which is definitely a panther.
I have to say that before you told me it was a panther, I was really unimpressed with a quarter CR. I'm just like, what? Quarter CR? Like,
Was that a snake? Is that a rabbit?
Yeah. Is that a little buddy?
You're gonna hop at me.
But if you go with Circle of the Moon, that changes your CR cap down, which normally at 8th level would be 1. It changes at 2nd level. Your CR is 1. So yes, you can hit a lion at 2nd level.
Well, I was looking at Circle of the Moon, and there's this campaign coming up for a meat grinder for Brigade Con. I was like, oh man, a 7th level druid would be so sweet. And I'm like, oh look, you can do it. You guys are regionalists.
Yeah, regionalists.
So let's start at the beginning though. Flip that page back. What do we get for being a druid?
First level, you get
A lot of
your
heartache and
druidic
suffering.
language, which it's cool to see that that's still there, and your
So you speak
spellcasting.
Druish.
Yes.
Okay.
Druidish.
Druish.
You get your standard, druid weapons. You get light and medium armor, and your basic saves of int and wisdom.
Well, it's still in there. No metal weapon. No metal.
Yeah, I was going to
armor.
ask, can those shields or armor be made of metal?
They cannot.
Well, I mean, light and medium. You're looking at your hides. You're looking at your.
What? Are they the only class that get tools?
Oh yeah, they
They
get the
get-
herbalists.
They get an herbalist kit. Does the thief automatically get
Thieves' tools, yeah.
or the rogue? They automatically get these. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know they had folded in the criminal or whatever.
No, I don't think so.
But there's most of the classes don't get tools. Yeah, I think maybe just the.
That's
the
'cause they're
rogue.
crazy.
Swim speed. That's a crocodile.
Nice.
I'll be death rolling through dungeons, baby.
And without the circle of the moon, if you went with the circle of the land instead, you still get decent wild shape things. It's not just a little fluffy bunny or a snake. You can
Yeah,
turn into, like you said, a panther.
And you still have cool options, but you get to replace the extra wild shaping stuff with some sweet spell additions.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
circles.
based on the type of land you choose.
Right, and you get them just automatically added, similar to like a domain power of the clerics. They're automatically prepared, and then you can choose to use your spell slots on your regular druid spells or your land powers.
And what are the land we have? What Arctic coast?
You have Arctic coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, and Underdark. So they've got the Underdark
They even put
druid
Underdark in,
already
yeah,
in
so-
there.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything's covered. I mean, you could have a Taiga or something, but aside from the really crazy stuff.
I'm a volcano druid. Where's my volcano powers?
Yes, I live in an active volcano.
We'll call that desert.
You guys are
Oh.
racists.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. This is Ted. With me are my esteemed colleagues.
Dave.
Ryan.
Nate,
And today we're going to wild shape with some druids. So let's chat it up.
figuratively speaking.
We're not going to really turn into
No, we're not
druids.
going to really wild shape into some druids.
Nice. So druids has always been one of my favorite classes. The coolest thing about druid to me was, the ability to wild shape. The only problem in early editions, it took to like 7th level, and sometimes we don't get to 7th level. It happens.
Yeah.
But they rectify that a little bit in 4th edition, with you could wild shape pretty soon, but it wasn't like. It didn't feel like actually taking on the animal. It was just kind of like a reskin. They gave you some powers that you could use that
They're
were
like
specific.
animal-like attacks, but they weren't
Yeah,
really...
or utility-like. But it just didn't feel like assuming the form of the animal.
Right.
Maybe with some kind of balancing issue or whatever with the other characters, do you think?
The peyote rituals with the druids.
Yeah.
Ah, the herbalism pack.
Yeah.
Yep.
So druids and rogues, though, and bards get musical instruments.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a standout in that regard.
I have to go through and check that one out.
Well, what that means is it means the druid is a little more heavy with the skills than the other classes.
Mm-hmm.
Long leaf, man. Long leaf.
It's all about the long leaf.
The long leaf trade.
Yeah. That's right.
And of course, they get their secret language, which is cool to
Which is
see
not
some
so
of that.
secret because you could potentially pay to learn it.
Yes, if you meet a druid who's willing to teach you, sure. But I mean,
A druid that's down on his luck.
Yeah.
Times have been hard.
Yeah.
Can't afford the mistletoe the way he used to.
That's right. Yeah.
and then of course you take your second level when you finally get your wild shape in your druidic circle. So that's where it starts off, and
Well,
The classic power,
does
like
the
timeless
druidic
bodies there. at
does the
higher
druidic
levels.
circle start at 3rd level? Or
Yeah.